Hello friends, welcome to fresh new episode of Techie Tuesdays. I'm your host S. Ravi Kumar. Techie Tuesdays is a weekly show where I answer your tech and career related queries. So if you like my answers, then please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends, family and colleagues. Now let's get started with today's questions. Today's first question is by Priyanshu Singh. He's asking, how is developing web application different from developing a website? Priyanshu, technology wise, there is no difference in developing a web application and a website. It's basically on the functionality side where most of the differences appear. So when we talk about technologies wise, you can use same technology to create a web application as well as creating a website. You can use the same technology. So if you are talking about .NET, since I am a .NET, you can say promoter or .NET user, or you can say .NET architect. So I will primarily give you examples about .NET. So in .NET, you can use ASP.NET, MVC or Blazor to create website as well as web application. But the functionality wise, there is big difference between website and web application. Usually web applications are developed to solve a particular problem or to do a particular kind of work. So web application is kind of an application which is available over the internet. The popular example of web application can be a email client or email server. Sorry, not email client. It can be an email service like Gmail, Outlook or any other email service, or you can say a file sharing service, or you can say any other kind of any application which you can host on web and many people can use. So that is basically a web application. When we talk about websites are mostly used for like marketing purposes. So websites are kind of things where we have most of the data is kind of static data and there is very less user intervention involved in it. For example, you can say all the corporate websites, they are basically website. Be it if you go on any popular company website, if you go on let's say HCL.com, if you go on Infogain.com, if you go on Infosys.com, if you go on TCS.com, I don't know whether there is TCS.com or not, Wipro.com. So if you go on any kind of website, what you will get or what you will see is kind of a static content. So most of the time websites are used for marketing things or showcasing static content, and they have very less user interaction involved. So most of the websites only will have either like user entry form in the form of contact us, or you can say small operations. You can do only small operations, but those small operations are again they are used like they are integrated as a separate module. So even if you say that you are applying for a job, you will go on the website of that company, but from there you will be redirected to their job management portal. So website is like only used for showcasing or showing marketing things or showing static content. That is the like usability or primary difference between a website and web application. A web application is an application where like a web application is basically a website which is used for doing particular thing or doing activities or solving a particular problem, whereas a website is mostly used for marketing like marketing and other showing static content. For example, a blog site is also a website. So if you go on like if you go on my blog, that is techirathor.com, that is a blog site, but that is a static blog site because you don't have to do much interaction there. So those kind of things are basically websites. Those but technically or implementation wise or from developing point of view or as a developer, there is no difference for you. You will be using the same technologies in developing a website as well as a web application. Next question is from Om Kaushik. He's asking, what is test driven development in Agile? The Wikipedia definition of test-driven development is that test-driven development is a software development process relying on software requirements being converted to test case before software is fully developed, and tracking all the software development by repeatedly testing the software against all the test cases. So how it is implemented practically, let me give you that. So basically what happens in test driven development is that while doing development, rather than writing the code for a particular functionality, you will write the test cases for that particular functionality, and based on that test cases you will write the logic of that particular functionality. So usually what happens that most of the developers, even I myself, when I develop an application, what I do is let's say we are developing an application or we are writing a function to add two numbers. So I will just write a function to add two numbers, where we have two parameters, two parameters a and b, and I will return c is equal to a plus b, and that would be the return value, and that is one function. But if you are doing test driven development, you will have to write a separate project or separate function, separate module where you will be testing this particular function, and those test cases will be called as unit test cases. So you will for this a plus b, you will have around 2 to 3 test case scenario where either a can be 0, what will happen if a is 0 and b is positive, or what will happen if a is negative and b is positive, what will happen is if b is negative and a is positive, what will happen if both of these are negative. So there are various test case scenarios. You will have to write all those test cases while writing the function itself. So first you will write the test cases and you will pass all the test cases while writing the function. The benefit of using test driven development is that initial sanity test of your functionality is done automatically during your CI/CD processes, or like continuous integration and continuous deployment processes. So what happens that if a developer has written a functionality and he has written all the unit test cases, the requirement from the management or requirement from the senior is that his functionality should pass all his test cases. So your test case will have some sample data, also some static sample data to test the basic scenario or of basic different scenarios of your particular functionality. And then what will happen then when the application will be built, so before deploying on the server, all the unit test cases will be run by your CI/CD pipeline itself. It will run all the test cases and check that all the test cases are passing or not. If all the test cases are passing, then only it will deploy it to the production or development or whatever environment is it deploying the application. Otherwise it will not deploy the application. So these are kind of benefits that you will do initial level of sanity testing by following the test driven development. Then there are various matrices also which are maintained whether you follow test driven development or not. There is code coverage. Then code coverage is one of the biggest metrics which is covered when you write unit test cases, that what is the coverage of your code, how much unit test cases you have written for your code. So usually companies say that we go for 80% or 90% of code coverage, that your that particular code is of that quality that we have covered all the scenarios which can happen to solve a particular problem. So in basic terms or in layman terms, test driven development is where you write test cases while doing the development, and you develop or you test your application with the help of test cases rather than executing that application again and again and see what is the output in different scenarios. Next question is by Anuj Dubey. He is asking, should I include my GitHub page on my resume? Anuj, yes, of course you should add the link of your GitHub profile or GitHub page on your resume. However, do it only if you have some open source contribution to showcase, or you have some public projects or public source code which you can showcase in the form of your capability and skills. If you don't have any public projects to showcase and you have used your GitHub profile to like work on your previous client private repositories, then it would be any benefit of adding your GitHub project on your resume, because recruiter will not be able to see what kind of work you have done on your GitHub profile. So yes, of course you should add your GitHub profile on your resume, but do it only if you have something to showcase in your GitHub profile. Many people do, like since last year GitHub has now given an option to beautify their GitHub profile. So many people has done that, they have beautified their GitHub profiles also, just like their LinkedIn profile. So you can, if you have beautified your GitHub profile, then also you can put your GitHub profile link on your resume. However, it is advisable to put only if you have something to showcase. So any open source contribution or any open source application you have written, if you have that to showcase on your GitHub profile, it would be beneficial to showcase that. But even if you have implemented beautification on your GitHub profile and you add it in your resume, that would also be helpful, because people will know that you know how to beautify your GitHub profile. So they will know that you know about GitHub, you know how to use GitHub. So that would of course be an added advantage, but it would be more beneficial if you have something to showcase in your GitHub profile. Next question is from Yusuf. He's asking, are the free Codecamp certification worthy or just like any other online certificate? Yusuf, I primarily discourage people to go for paid certifications unless and until their company is not sponsoring it. So my take on certification is plain and simple, that do it only if your company is sponsoring that certification, otherwise don't go for it. Now coming to your free Codecamp certification, I think free Codecamp, most of the courses provided by free Codecamp are free as the name suggests. So if you have time and you have motivation and you want to upskill yourself, for sure go for that certification. I don't know whether they provide paid certification or not. I haven't seen, or I haven't gone through their website that much. I know about free Codecamp from the free Codecamp channel on YouTube, and I have seen their 1 hour, 2 hour or 3 hours long courses on various topics. So those topics and those courses are pretty extensive. So if you can follow along those courses and create sample applications, then of course, and you are learning something from them, then of course go for it. But as I said, that go for paid certification only if your company is sponsoring. Next question is from Lisa. She is asking, how can I promote myself as a developer? Lisa, the best way to promote yourself in any specialization, be it developer, be it tester, be it designer, is to showcase your specialty in the form of either open source application or in the form of creating content. So basically build your personal brand. So once you build your personal brand in that particular specialization, you should of course, like you should promote that brand. For example, I am brand Techie Rathor and I promote Techie Rathor everywhere. You can see here, I think, yes, you can see here, I have Techie Rathor logo. I have my YouTube channel. I have my blog where I write about .NET technology. So I promote myself as a .NET architect, and I have certifications to prove that. I have contributed to open source application. I have myself written a couple of open source applications which are posted on my GitHub profile. So the best way to promote yourself is build your personal brand. How you can build your personal brand? There are few steps which you can follow. The number one step is like you can create content. You can write blogs, you can write YouTube, you can create YouTube videos just like me. So you can create content related to the technology in which you are working. That is one way of creating your professional brand. The second way of creating your professional brand is contributing to open source projects of your particular technology. So if you are working in .NET, you can just search for awesome.net and contribute to open source, any open source application in which you are comfortable with. You can contribute to that open source application from awesome.net, or you can even search for your technology, like you can just search for awesome plus the technology which you are working on, and you can search about it on Google and you will get the list of awesome technology, and you can contribute to that open source project. So those open source projects, because it's a curated list of the open source applications and courses in the particular technology which you have added to the word awesome. The third way would be, and it is the toughest way, that is creating a product. So if you create a product in the particular technology in which you have worked upon, so you can of course promote that, yes, I have created this particular product. So any product if you have contributed to, or any product which whose owner accept that, okay, you can add this product in your resume, so you can mention that, okay, I have contributed to this product and I have created this product at this or this particular module of that product, and that way of course you can promote yourself as a developer. So as I said, the best way to promote yourself in any specialization is to build your personal brand in that particular specialization. Next question is by Caroline Cole. She's asking, how do you choose the right technology stack for your project? Caroline, let me tell you very frankly that usually 90% of the time people choose technology stacks for their product development based on the technology in which they have very good knowledge and availability of resources in that technology. So if someone is good in a particular technology, let's say if you ask me to choose technology stack for developing any particular application, I would be most of the time choosing .NET related technology stack. So if you ask me to develop mobile application, I would say that develop the mobile application using either Xamarin Forms or Mavi. If you say to what technology stack will you use for developing web application, I would say that I will use Blazor and ASP.NET Web API. If you say what technology stack you will use to develop Windows application or desktop application, cross-platform desktop application or Windows application, I would say that you can choose either from Uno or Avalonia UI or WPF, any technologies in which any of these technologies for which you have easy availability of resources. So it all comes down to the technology in which the person is comfortable and he can get easy availability of resources. Rest everything is, frankly speaking, marketing speeches that, okay, this technologies has these many stars on GitHub, and this technologies has this much it is so much performant and so many things. So performance wise also I can say that right now .NET Core and .NET 6 and .NET 5 is most performant engine, but it doesn't mean that a person who is good in Node.js will choose .NET Core for their next application. They will of course use Node.js because they know well about Node.js, and Node.js resources are pretty much available in abundance in the market. So as I said, that technology stacks are primarily chosen by people based on the technologies in which they are comfortable, because most of the modern technologies, you can create any kind of application you want. So I only know about .NET. I have even created videos on unlimited capabilities of .NET, that using .NET what all kind of different kind of applications you can create. But I am pretty much sure that other technologies also have those options to create the different kind of applications. But again, the availability of resources in your particular area would be a challenge in that particular technology. So choose a technology in which you are comfortable in and in which the resources are easily available. The safest best would be to go with a technology which is around 5 to 10 years old, because that and has a big community. That way you can easily get resources. So these were my answers to your tech and career related queries in this episode of Techie Tuesdays. If you want your questions to be answered in next episode of Techie Tuesdays, you can DM me your questions with hashtag Techie Tuesdays on any social media platform. All my social media handles are Techie Rathor. I hope you like my answers, and if you like my answers, then please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends, family and colleagues. So until my next video, take care. Bye bye.